Welcome back, guys. So right now let's talk about designing a website wireframe. All I have to do is to start a new design file. So this is my Figma dashboard, and all I have to do is click new design file, and I have new design file clicked right now, and this is the desktop app, and this is what the dashboard looks like. So I'm going to give it a name right now. I'm going to name this file. I'm going to say my website web design. So let's just name it web design, and we don't have a particular design yet. Maybe we could get some idea and all that. So yes, so we have the page one, and we could add more pages like I said. But the first thing you want to do is to access the plugins. So I'm going to just come right here. I'm going to come to manage plugins, and I'm going to type something like wireframe. So let's see something we could use. So we have the wireframe. So this says wireframe designer. So let's use something like this. So this says unleash your design creativity and productivity with ease. Describe your vision. Design with a single click. Design for mobile or desktop and all that. So let's just see what this would offer us. Let me use this particular plugin to see if that will work for us right now. So let me wait for that to be installed. So wireframe designer is right here. So what I have now is 10 designs left. So let's do our first design. So we could choose to design for mobile app. What would you like to design? So I could say I want to generate wireframe. So I would say I want to design a website for a tech business. Help me with the low fee wireframe frames for different pages. For different pages. So I'm going to try to use this. Let's see if it works. So I'm going to try to use this to design a wireframe, and we could see if we could tweak that. So here we have a wireframe designed, and here we have it. So design is complete. So let's see what we have here right now. So this is a wireframe automation, and we just automated the wireframe, and let's see what we have right here. So I'm going to zoom to fit, and zoom to fit, this is what we have. So I'm going to try to just see what it's designed for us. So this is what it designed for us, and this is not a low fee wireframe. This looks more like a mid-fee. As you could see, all you have to do is to you could actually change some of it. So you could actually change some of the position. So we have the welcome to tech biz, you have the featured products, and this is what we have so far, and this is looking great. So we could improve on this, but you could draw a wireframe from scratch. So we could say wireframe. So I'm going to rename this. I'll say wireframe. This is just a way to automate it, as you could see. So I'll say wireframe, and yeah, we're going to have this as the wireframe. That will be the first page. So this could be improved on. You could actually make it a real design, and this is the first page. So let's go on to create a second page. So this is the home page, of course. So let me say this is the home page wireframe. I could rename this. Actually, you could rename from here. You could rename it. You could say the home page wireframe, and this is not a low fee wireframe because we have a low fee wireframe. So let's try to replicate a low fee wireframe for this. Okay, let me add session right now. So I'm going to add session from here. So let me add session, and let me make something out of this. So I'm going to add session right away. So let me add session right now, and that is me adding a session. So that will be a session right here. So let me just make this to fit. Let me zoom this to fit. So we're going to have this, and all I have to do is to click on the O of this, and the O of this, all I have to do is to try to use my move to bring it here. So this will be the mid-fee. So let's say this will be the mid-fee, medium fidelity. So this will be the mid-fee wireframe. So this will be the mid-fee wireframe. So this will be the mid-fee wireframe. So I want to proceed to use so I could just try to get something like this. So let me get the frame, and let me just create something new. So let's use the frame. Let's use a frame right here. So I'm going to use the frame to get a frame, and right now I want to get an Android compact. Okay, let me get something like this, and I could just do the same thing it did. So Ctrl Z. So let me just try to enlarge this. I will try to enlarge it just to make more sense, just like this. So yes, let's try to enlarge that. So we could create something like a low fee wireframe. So let's say this would be a low fidelity wireframe. So I will rename this from here. I'll rename it from here. I'll say low fidelity. This will be a low fidelity wireframe. Low fidelity wireframe. So we're going to have this. So that's the name, and this will be our mid-fee. Like I said, this will be our medium wireframe, and that's what we named it. So we could just rename it to medium fidelity wireframe. So we generated this medium fidelity wireframe, but let me replicate it as a lofi. So lofi basically uses rectangle, uses dash like a line and all that. So let's try to zoom this. I'm just going to add a plus to it. So let me add a flare to it and see what we could achieve with this. So right here we have the first thing, we have the navigation panel, which is the navigation bar. So I'm going to create that. So let me create that with a line. So I could just come to my shape tool right here, and I'll use a line to create the navigation bar. So the navigation bar will be right here. So we have that right there, and right here we are going to just make sure this color is like a grayish kind of color. So let's achieve that. So we could do something like that. So here you have the navigation panel. Then when you come back here, so let's zoom to fit. Let's zoom to fit, and when we come back here, we have the text. The first thing we have is the hero session. So I could use a rectangle to create that as well. So I'll come to my shape tool, I'll use a rectangle to create that effect. So I'll just create something like this, and that will be the first hero session. So I'll name this hero session, or let me just give it a test. So the test stays this way. So we just do a test this way, and yeah, the test stays that way. Then we have a search panel. So you could use your this rectangle to create a search panel. So we could just do something like this, and there we have it. So having to do something like this, all I have to do is to make sure this is as a stroke. So let me add a stroke to it. So we're going to have something like a stroke to it right there, and we're going to have additional text. So I'll use the line to represent the additional text, which stays somewhere in between here. So this is something like a lofi. So this is something like what a lofi would look like. So we have something like that, and right here we have the button. So you could input button right here. So you could use something like a double line to represent button. So we could just say the button could be, okay, a text will be right here. So you could input a text right there, and we could just say like a button should be right here. So I could still use the rectangle for a button. So I could just say a button will be right here. So all you have to do now, I want to represent it fully. So far I've not been able to represent it fully, so I'll just use a stroke, and right now I could just give them a name. So let's see what we are going to have. So let's say the dash represents text and all that. So the button, you can just try to give button the name. So let's do that. Let's give a test to that. So let me just zoom this. Let me zoom out. Okay, let me zoom in. Sorry, let me zoom in. So I'll zoom in into this. So let me zoom in to see the button. Yes, so I just zoomed in, and right there we just created a wireframe, but this is a lofi wireframe. This will represent the navigation. So like I said, this will represent the navigation menu, which is the first thing right here, and this will represent the hero session, of course. So we could use it to represent the hero session, and that's just representation of it in a low fidelity design. So we could represent the hero session, and right here we use this to represent a text. So you could make that ticker just to indicate that is the title text. So we could just indicate that with this. So we could make this ticker by adding more weight. So we could add a 3, and we have more weight. So that will be the overall title, and this will stay this way, this will stay this way. So you could actually input some of the text. Actually you could input some of the text, but right now I just want to carry out some things. So right here, this is a button. So all I can do is just to add text and say this is button, or I could say btn. So I could just name it btn. So that will be the button, and right here all I have to do is to make it 50%, and let's see what we have right here. So we're going to just name it btn, and this is btn right here. So I could just increase the size. I could increase the text size to like a 40, Yes, I could replace it to like that, and I'll make sure it comes in between here. So that represents the button. So when you compare the low fee to the mid fee from the one we generated, you'll see that the mid fee is actually better because this gives us more context and everything to what we want to design, as you could see. So the mid fee is actually better, which is the medium fidelity design, and here we are. Then you could see the low fee right here. So compare the low fee to the mid fee. So basically we could actually generate our wireframe from here. So that's how to create a wireframe from low fidelity to high fidelity to medium fidelity. So we could use that same plugin again. Let's get that plugin right now. So I'll get the plugins, and yes, plugins, and we're using the wireframe designer. So this is just like you using an AI to generate your design. So let's see what we have right now. So let's try to design this is the home page. So far we just designed the home page for this tech brand. I'm going to show you how to convert it to a high fidelity design. So right now we're going to just proceed. I would say create an about us page for create an about us page wireframe for a tech brand. Okay, so we are going to do this named tech biz. Yeah, so I'm going to generate this. I'm going to design. So let's see what this will do for us. So it's going to create something unique for us. So yes, we are. So it's drafting all this, and we're going to have that right now. So let's see what we have. So it has designed that for us. So let's see the about us. So right now this is the one we created earlier on. So here is another one right now. So let's just zoom this to see what we have. So let me zoom to like 100, and let me zoom this to like a okay, let's zoom this to like a 50. So rather, so here we have the new one designed. So this is a new one. So here it is. So I could just bring it down to okay, let me just take it out. Let me take it out. So this is a new one designed, and we could just use this to design whatever I want to design. So let me zoom to fit, and let's bring this. So I could just say this. So let me just bring this somewhere here, and here it is. So we have two designs right here. We just designed the low fee, and we just designed a mid fee. So right here we could just choose to replicate one of these. So this is just an AI to automate your design process, and this is just a wireframe. So we're going to zoom this to like 100%, or let me zoom it to like a 50% to see what we have. So this is the other design right here. This is the first design we made, which is the Mifi, and this is the new one we just created. So this is welcome. This created a more detailed, it says home, about us, and products, contacts, and this is just the landing page. I hope to see you in the next lesson where we'll get to talk more about you designing the whole page. But right now we've just be able to generate a website design, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. See you there.